What's going on, everyone? Captain Horn here. Welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 video. I hope you enjoy watching and maybe even learn a thing or two from this video. Before we begin, if you would like to see more Microsoft Flight Simulator content, please consider subscribing to my channel. It takes less than 5 seconds and it would greatly help my channel out. If you are interested in supporting myself and my channel, be sure to check out the different tiers in my Patreon for different rewards. If you are interested in becoming an active member in my community, or would like to find others to fly with in Microsoft Flight Simulator, feel free to join my Discord. The link to both my Patreon and Discord are in the description. Let's get right into this video. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the second part of this massive update that Microsoft has released for the simulator. Now, starting off with the Performance tab, we're going to check out my performance and see what I'm actually getting. And I've already tested the load time, the time it took to load the Cessna in at Charlotte, and there was no impact. It did not change at all. It took about 3 minutes to load in, so no change there at all. And also in the cockpit, I mean, I'm getting about 40 frames per second. I'm actually running on high-end settings because OBS wants to be mean to me and won't allow me to run ultra settings and capture the game at my true FPS. It's more like a slideshow. So yeah, I am getting about 40 frames in the cockpit, which I guess is a little bit of an improvement. But let's go outside now, and I'm actually going to head toward the city. And I have not noticed any stutters yet, which is good. And now you see I'm getting about 55, 56 frames per second, which is amazing. And on Ultra, I would usually get around 30. And honestly, there's not really that much of a difference between Ultra and high-end. Maybe adjust some few settings to make it ultra, but other than that, no, I'm not getting much lag at all or stutters while in the actual city, which is very good. Now, performance wise, I haven't really noticed a change. On ultra, I would still get around 30 to 40 frames per second, and we can actually check out my performance tab in my task manager. And I'm still using about 54% of the CPU, which is a slight decrease from what I was using. My RAM has really gone out of the roof. I mean, 21 gigabytes out of 31, and that's definitely an increase, which is something that the performance tab claims to have fixed. And my GPU is still running at almost 100%, 99%, which is no change at all. So performance-wise, I haven't really noticed a change. The only change that I have kind of noticed is I have not yet got a stutter, which is I usually would get a stutter by now, but some more investigation is going to be required to check if I do get stutters, like do a full flight from somewhere to somewhere in an Airbus or something like that. Well, I have now noticed another issue that was not fixed in the simulator that I could have sworn was actually in the changelog. But you guys remember on live weather, I mean, it's pouring down rain in Charlotte. But if I go up here, we have live weather on. There's not a single cloud in sight. I don't know if I can somehow... Yeah, nothing. If I make clear skies to live weather, nope, nothing. This is not live weather in Charlotte, I can tell you that for a fact. So that's another issue. The only way I've been able to fix that is to actually restart my game. Alright, so apparently I just reviewed that footage I just shot, and OBS is still being mean to me. So if anybody knows a fix for that, please let me know, or I'm just about to switch to another game recorder because that's just ridiculous. Alright, anyway, moving on to the actual aerodynamics, we see that we should get some cockpit vibrations with the engine idling, and yes, there is some vibrations here, but it's nothing like XP Realistic or anything severe. I actually expected more. So that's kind of disappointing, but it is there, so can't really say much there. Another thing is the weather. I'm actually going to turn on rain, and again, we don't really have any cockpit vibrations other than the low RPM. So what I am going to do is ascend into the clouds, and we should get some cockpit shaking when we are in the clouds due to turbulence. So I'm going to descend here, try to get into the clouds. Now, I did test this earlier, and there was quite a lot of shaking, which I was kind of impressed with in the cockpit. So the camera is not just held still constantly. Yeah, okay, you can kind of see now that we are getting a little bit of shaking in the actual cockpit, but it was a lot worse than that. due to turbulence and just being in the cloud altogether. And there's also no rain hitting my windshield, which is a little weird. But there is some shaking when you're in the clouds, and we'll better be able to tell this whenever we are in an actual airliner rather. Now another thing is the winds aloft, so I'm going to try to get up very high, and it says it fixed the 3-knot bug, so we're going to see what our winds aloft actually look like. Aloft is showing 270 at 10 knots, and that hasn't changed yet, so I'm actually going to descend further, and the wind should be different at a lower altitude, and we're going to see if it still says 10 knots and the same direction. Alright, so here we are now at pretty much 10,000 feet lower, and what do you know, it still says 270 at 10 knots. So the winds aloft, as far as I can draw from this conclusion, is they have not really been fixed at all yet. I mean, winds in real life do not just sit at 10 knots at a constant rate. They're constantly changing. Not to mention there's clouds right here, and there should be some turbulence up here, maybe. I'm going to descend into the clouds now and see if our winds just still stay the same. Like right into here. Oh yeah, what do you know? Okay, still 10 knots at 270 degrees. And oh, and my indicated airspeed has just plummeted all the way to the ground, so I see they still haven't fixed that, which I guess I can't really give them much for that because that wasn't in the fix, but that is really annoying. That happens in like every single aircraft. It just plummets to 0 knots, even though we are definitely moving through the air. Alright, so regarding that, that has literally not changed. Sure, they maybe fixed the 3-knot issue, but now it seems like a 10-knot issue, or something else depending on your weather. Cessna Grand Caravan propeller RPM changing and the sounds, but I really don't notice anything. I mean, at full throttle, and if I reduce the RPM, then sure there is a sound change, but it's pretty much exactly how it was. So that's that. I mean, I expected a much larger improvement in the sound there with the Grand Caravan. Alright, moving on. So it claims to have removed the reverse thrust in the Cessna Citation CJ4, which is what we are in. And I'm really starting to lose faith in this update because, watch this. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is reverse thrust. The plane will back up with the brakes off. They did not remove the reverse thrust. Okay, I don't know what is going on with this update. Okay, so now some things with the Airbus A320, and apparently this has a lot of issues. One of which I noticed it has replaced my other Airbus, and oh, disregard, it has apparently not replaced it. That's weird. Yesterday when I got in, it replaced my 320NX with the default Airbus. Anyway, one issue that they say they have fixed is the V speeds and weight. So we see V1 is 128, and let's up the weight a little bit, just like that. And now, yes, it's went up to 142, so that is actually correct, and it does now change. So that is one thing that they have fixed. Another thing it claims to have fixed is the speed management, and what we're going to do is actually take off. I'm going to try to get up to 10,000 feet, and we're going to see if we just fly way over 250 knots with auto throttle engaged or not. And they also claim some better autopilot improvements, so we're going to check out if that's even been improved or fixed. Now again, on the performance, this is really good actually. My performance is a lot better in Charlotte, actually taking off. Okay, this is a really short runway. Alright, there's V1. Let's get off the ground. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I mean, no stutters so far, which is really good. Those were really starting to bug the crap out of me. Alright, now... Alright, I'm not sure. Why is the purple arrow way down here? That doesn't make much sense to me at all. Like, that's getting close to stall speed. Alright, I'm going to engage the autopilot and see what happens, and put it on throttle climb. Alright, there we go. And no idea why it's banking, but you know what? It's whatever. Alright, so it looks like it's going up to 250 knots. Yeah, we're on climb as well. Let's go ahead and raise those flaps. And now we see it's changed to 250 knots. So let's see if it does actually just fly right past 250 knots. And it is not climbing. It's literally descending. What is happening? It's like we're stalling out right now, but we're not. Okay, now my vertical speed has increased. Alright, and yeah, look, we are now flying way over 260 knots. And it's trying to catch back up to it and giving us this crazy angle of attack while doing so. Almost 20-degree pitch. Alright, and now it's going to... It looks like it's starting to hold on 250 knots. And, okay, so again there, I don't really see much improvement out of that. I'm curious if it'll just fly right over... Okay, what the heck? Alright. Well, now we're definitely way over 250 knots, and we see our flight director has changed, and... Okay, what the hell? And now it switched to altitude when I set it to 10,000 feet. And it's not even allowing me to climb anymore. And there we go, now it's back up to climbing. And we're still over 250 knots, which is illegal. And, okay, so yeah, there's not really much improvement to the autopilot. If anything, it's made it worse. And I've seen some people have commented on my previous video saying that the Airbus is just totally broke and it acted a lot better in the last version. And I'm starting to see why. Yeah, this is definitely not how the autopilot's supposed to be working. Alright, a lot of people have also said that they've had issues starting up the Airbus A320. And that the engines are shutting off randomly, which is currently a known bug, and we're going to test that right now. And this is, again, something that did not happen in the previous version. I just got another bug that I haven't seen anybody mention yet, is pay attention to these buildings up here when I go to the overhead panel. Boom. Where'd they go? They just disappear. That did not happen in the other version, and I've taken off from Charlotte, I can't tell you how many times. Okay, that's a weird livery. So yeah, I'm gonna get my APU running and try to start these engines and see what is going on with this. Alright, we now have the APU available and the bleed is on, so let's see what happens when we try to start an engine. Alright, our N2 is climbing just fine. Everything's looking good thus far. Okay, engine number 1, or rather 2, started just fine. Let's see what happens when we get number 1 running. N2's climbing, and it's looking good so far. Okay, engine number 1 started smoothly and as it should. Same way with engine number 2. And I'm going to shut off the APU. And everything will hopefully be okay. I've had some people comment on my video that when starting the Airbus, some oil pressure warning comes up or something and one of the engines just shut down. Now I don't know if this is probably on the default Airbus, and this is the A380NX, the modded version of the Airbus. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but everything is looking fine so far with the Airbus. They still need to fix these black screens down here. But yeah, it's definitely a common issue for the engines to just randomly shut off during startup, like they didn't do on this go around. But I've heard some people say they had that issue, and one guy even flew on one engine all the way somewhere. And apparently a fix for it is just to leave your APU running. That keeps both engines running. So that's that. Oh, everybody, I take that back. There we go. I've waited about 5 minutes, and look at that. Engine number 1 has now shut down. Okay, so this has just happened to me too. And I mean, everything is as it should. And yeah, engine number 1 has just shut off. Like, randomly. I didn't touch anything, and it just shut off. Okay, so that is definitely going to happen, and I now see what people mean when they say the engine's just, one of them randomly shuts off. Alright, so that's going to do it, guys, for this video. I've had enough with seeing all these bugs that this update brought, or quote, update. I feel like I've hit most of the major points that the update brought, or at least claimed to have brought. Obviously, this update was more like a downgrade, and I would much rather have the previous version. Like, this is just disappointing. I don't know why they would release anything like this. I mean, the reverse thrust on the Cessna jet still works. This engine is randomly shut down now. The speed on the Autopilot is just still flamboyant and just ridiculous and goes everywhere. And same way with the Autopilot, and the winds aloft don't appear to be fixed. I have heard some people that said the weather is actually a little more decent. They actually did fix the V-speeds in the FMC and stuff like that, and the vibrations were not as spectacular as I expected them to be. So my general consensus of this update was it's total crap, and they should not have released this update, and I'm sure a lot of people are wanting to downgrade, including myself now, because I mean the A320 is pretty much useless whenever this engine just randomly shuts off. I don't even know if I could relight it. I mean, my APU's off, and I'm not going to bother with that anymore. So yeah, as always, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, depending on when you're watching this video. Be on the lookout for some more Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 videos and tutorials. I got a VATSIM series coming up and an on-air series that I'm going to talk about. I've also got a review of the plugin PAX X, which is very neat. And be on the lookout for some live streams on my channel. And if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next video.